This hour is sponsored by the Summit Group of Virginia, financial consultants in Southeast Virginia and nationwide for over 20 years. www.summitgroupva.com.
What if I told you the only way to listen to a local recording artist was to go to a gig, buy a CD, or pay for a streaming service? Tonight, live from Virginia Beach, Virginia, podcasting all things musical from Southeast Virginia. Our sound, our songs, our artists, and our business. Welcome to SEVACAST with host Tom Farley and Alton Riddick. Let's get talking. Hey y'all, what's going on? This is Alton Riddick.
It's Tom Farley.
And this is SEVACAST, first podcast of its kind. How you doing?
Doing great, man. Looking forward to this.
Well, the big question is, why has there never been a radio station or media outlet dedicated exclusively to broadcasting or promoting recording artists of Southeast Virginia? That is the big question.
And the answer is because radio has never taken upon itself, at least local radio, has never taken upon itself to really support the artists in any great measure at all. I can remember back in the day when Herndon Edwards put out their album. They were one of several different groups that were recording at the time. They got pretty good airplay, but it was short-lived and enough to sell the CDs that they bought, and that's pretty much as far as it went. Once the corporations took over, no local artists made it on the air at all, and that was a shame because there's no way in the world that the local music can ever have a sense of itself unless it's broadcasted and being able to be absorbed by its public.
And that's exactly what we're talking about today.
Yes, it is.
Trying to get an identity for a place in an environment which does not really, foster or nurture it.
No, I mean, when you think about it, think about Los Angeles. I mean, I grew up in the 70s and 80s listening to a lot of acoustic groups, Jackson Browne, the Eagles, and so forth. In L.A., those people really took those people in. I mean, the radio station broadcasted them a lot. They recorded each other's songs. Of course, they had great music and great songs, but people would have never heard it unless they had a radio station to actually go out and promote it.
True.
And with those, and plus, the Doors and other people that were going on, it creates a sound. And that sound is a community. And once you have that community, it's something to be proud of. It's something you can engage in. It's something you can share with other people. I mean, I don't know about you all, but basically a lot of the music that I get or have gotten over the years has been basically, don't listen, check out this particular person. They tossed me a CD and it would turn me on to them. And basically, I would find the songs that I really, really liked and that person would become part of the community of the sound that I listen to.
Sure thing. I get it. I think all of us grew up that way. And without radio, you just don't hear about people. There's too many people out there and the proximity and logistics of it all. There's no way you could possibly hear it. Now, I will say technology has changed that a little bit. But for the local artists, especially in an area like ours, and we're going to get down to talking about that in particular, because top 40 is a thing to do. I guess club owners feel like that's the way they need to go about things to make money. You don't really, even when you go to a gig, you're not really hearing the person that you're seeing because they're playing covers. So the first question, has there ever been radio support for local musicians?
The answer to that is basically,
and this is in our area.
Yeah, basically that's no. I can remember Wowie when it was an underground station playing, the latest, head music of the day. Had a lot of variety, a lot of genres, but no local music. Like I said, Herndon Edwards had some airplay, Snuff had some airplay, but that was short-lived. And because of that, the area has no musical sense of itself. No. There's no sound. There's no series of songs that, what is the Take It Easy, which was done by the Eagles and by Jackson Browne. Right. What is the Take It Easy, for Southeast Virginia? At the end of the day, there is none because basically you have a little spot over here, a little, I guess you could say a particular genre has its own group and it, whether acoustic, blues, rock, whatever it is. But there's no sense in the fact that there could be a great song or set of songs in each one of those genres and all the other genres as well, but nobody has a chance to hear it. You go you go out and listen to a gig, or you listen to that CD at home, or you stream them on Spotify, and that's the only part of the sound of the area that you know.
Exactly.
And if you don't know the rest of it, how in the world can you have any sense of, wow, this area's got great country, wow, this area's got great rock, well, whatever the genre happens to be. So if the radio stations, for whatever reason, whether they thought we weren't good enough, or the songs weren't great enough, or they felt like they couldn't get an audience, at the end of the day, they just didn't play. And by the time corporate took over, then the chance of getting your stuff played on local airways was just non-existent.
Exactly. Well, is there a sense of musical cohesion or community, do you think?
No. I mean, when you think about it, I was pretty much a child of the acoustic community. And we had our own, the clubs that you played. And but for the most part, I, like most people, was working a 9 to 5. So right. I would go out and gig on a Friday and Saturday night, maybe do some solo during the week. But, when you're out gigging, you don't have the time to actually go by and listen to the other people. So how do you know what sound they're into? How do you know the original songs that they're actually putting out? Probably really good stuff, but you never even had the chance to explore it because you didn't have the time to actually get up, go to a club, and not only spend the time at a club, but also spend the money at a club, which basically maybe be somewhat prohibitive. And because of that, you were unaware of what the music or the collective, sound of the area and the songs of the area had to offer you. There's a lot out there in every community, but this community especially. Southeast Virginia has great artists, but there was no way in the world we were disconnected. And a community is complete, opposite of being disconnected. Community means that there's a sharing, there's an awareness, there's also a promotion, simply through the respect and the enjoyment that you get out of the music that you're hearing.
Well, my question to you is, going along with what you were just talking about, was how many clubs are there really that allow for an artist to be who they are as opposed to playing someone else's tunes?
That's a great question. I talked to a lot of my friends. I mean, I haven't gigged regularly for quite some time. I mean, I'm still cranking out studio albums and stuff like that, still collaborating with artists, but I'm not out there in the clubs. I mean, whether it be time or just the fact that I just don't want to haul PA, one night a week or something along those lines. The issue is that when they go out to the clubs, the club owners are more than likely going to be demanding that they do cover tunes. Excuse me. Now, cover tunes are great. Don't get me wrong. I mean, there are some cover tunes that I really enjoy doing. But I didn't go out to play music to do cover tunes. Right. I went out to play music to push my originals.
Right.
The fact that the bands that I was in had great, I guess you could say, versions of the original material, and then eventually that would be solidified in an album version. The bottom line is that the fun for me, the juice for me, was actually putting my original music out there and actually having an audience respond in a way, and when I hear them respond positively, it's great. When I hear them singing along to my lyrics or dancing to the songs, that I didn't ever think about being a dance tune, but it's danceable, they're out there dancing, man, that's an incredible feeling.
Right.
And the fact that they're dancing and singing and spending money and spending time in the club, the fact that a club owner doesn't understand that and say, play your original music because it's keeping, butts in the seats in my club
right.
or in my restaurant, that didn't make any sense to me at all.
Now, is that a money issue? Is it because, this is their way of maybe a surefire way for them to make money, having people play cover songs, as opposed to maybe they feel like it's a roll of the dice for a consumer to come in and say, well, I don't know this person, so maybe I don't want to go?
Well, the one thing I know is the fact that when we went out and played, at least 60, 70% of the music we played was original. If the club owners weren't making money off of us, they wouldn't have us in the club. We had a great following.
Truth.
A lot of it was because the people came out to the gigs and bought the records or the CDs or
right.
the cassettes or whatever the period of time happened to be.
You've dated yourself.
Yeah, I have.
We're old.
Yeah, we are. But they would take them home and they would appreciate a live performance of those songs. But when it comes down to, if you're a businessman, what do you care if they're playing their original material or they're playing a cover? They're in your club. They're spending money. They're enjoying themselves. They're possibly dancing if you happen to have a small dance floor. These people are into a great sound, which those original musicians are playing their original tunes, and these people are getting off on it, and they're staying there. And so, if they're doing that because they enjoy coming out and listening to the original music, plus their interpretation of the covers. I mean, every band's got a really good interpretation of their favorite cover.
Sure thing.
But if these people are sticking around and enjoying the original music, and they want to come out and listen to the original music because that's what they've heard, whether on a CD or on the radio, then basically it would be bad business to say, sorry, you can't play your originals. That just doesn't make any sense to me at all. I think it's pretty ignorant, to tell you the truth.
Well, apparently there's a lot of ignorance around here, because that's really what this place is about as of this moment. Well, what do you think this hinders collaboration? Does it create unhealthy competition?
Well, let's face it. I had a conversation with a good buddy of mine, and he made a really, really interesting comment, which we both laughed at, but it was kind of like, double-edged sword. He and I both started playing music in this local area in the late 70s, early 80s. And he said, Tom, I go out and I play right now, and I'm getting paid the same thing that I was getting paid back then, almost as a musician or as a part of a band, my cut, 40 years and it hasn't changed. That tells you something about the local area. That means that basically, in order to be able to perform, in order to be able to stand in front of a crowd, people will pretty much play for whatever the club owner is willing to offer. Well, I guarantee you, that's not the way it is in Los Angeles. That's not the way it was in Seattle with grunge. That's not the way it is in Chicago or Nashville. These people get paid top dollar because people are coming out to listen to their original music being played in their club.
Exactly.
Okay, but the fact that these people, the people who are actually want to gig, are in competition with each other. If you're going up and somebody says, I like to have $150 a night to play solo, and the club owner just looks at you like you got three heads and say, well, I can get this guy over here for $75. Well, this guy over here that's charging that will go out and play for $75. That basically sets the bar down low, and everybody is playing for $75, no matter how good you are.
If I'm an owner, I'm like, why would I pay you $150?
Well, plus, they're into the restaurant business, not into the music business.
Sure.
So if they're into the music business, then basically they would realize that there are some people who are actually much, much better at playing the covers than others. People will have a consistent crowd that will come with them, a crowd that actually spends money on food and liquor. And those people are the ones that you want to have in your club.
Sure.
But those people are having to take the wages of everybody, no matter whether it's the new kid off the block or because they're basically not into developing a musical scene in their club. Or if they are, they're trying to do it at the absolute lowest dollar.
Well, based on my no experience or just thinking about human nature in general, it would seem to me if I had to take $75 because somebody else wanted to take $75, which dumbed down my rate, that's got to create unhealthy competition. What do you think about that?
It does. I mean, people can come together for whatever, celebration, where you have several people playing together at one particular function, and they can enjoy each other, it's camaraderie and all the rest of that stuff. But, the bottom line is that a lot of these people who are playing are not just out to stand in front of a club or to drink until closing time or to pick up somebody at the end of the evening or whatever. They need that money to actually pay the rent. They need that money to put food on the table. And so their time is very, very valuable to them. And, excuse me, because of that, the lower wage that they actually pay, it makes it much more difficult for them to even rationalize or even go out and have that energy that they would need and that positive attitude that they would need. And they look at to actually play the gig and knowing they're going to be able to walk away with something. Plus, they look at the other people who are out there doing it and they wonder, how in the world could they be playing for this pittance,
right.
Kind of thing. So I think it does not garner collaboration. It did with the club owner or with each other. It doesn't garner respect for each other. It kind of like, I'm not really into that person because, that person's getting booked all the time and, they might be good, but they're not as good as my band, so to speak, that kind of thing. And that's the kiss of death for a community.
Right.
You can't develop community when you have that low level of awareness or respect going on.
Sure. Okay. I hear that. I mean, like I said before, I don't really know because I never played out, but I have friends that do. And it just, some of the questions in my mind, yeah, you're answering those, and that makes a lot of sense.
Well, on the East Coast, this particular area, Southeast Virginia, is one of the lowest paying areas on the East Coast. You go up into Jersey or New York, or you go down toward Florida or Georgia or South Carolina, North Carolina, and you're getting better money.
Yes.
And that's the reason why a lot of people hit the road. They much rather play here, I mean, with their friends and their family,
Sure.
the people who know their music best. But if they can make a better buck on the road simply because they pay better on the road, if they have that opportunity or that option, they'll take it.
I hear you. Now, I know I don't focus well when I have money issues. I don't think anybody does. I don't think you focus well when you're not healthy. There are certain things that can take your focus away from the task at hand.
Absolutely.
So would you think this whole predicament that local musicians or Southeast Virginia musicians in particular find themselves, does it keep artists from focusing on the business of music, actually maximizing their time? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Let's put it this way. I think that most musicians are good at their craft.
Okay.
I think that, they practice their vocals, they practice their instruments, they rehearse with their bands. But at the end of the day, it boils down to my instrument, my voice, and the gig.
Right.
I'm going to spend my time making sure my skill set is up on my singing and my playing, and I'm going to spend the rest of the time going out and booking a gig.
Right.
When actually, on top of that, there are many, many musicians, scores of them actually, who've actually taken the time to develop their own recordings, their own CDs or their own EPs. I've noticed lately that there are a lot of people who have spent a considerable amount of money. Don't tell me that they did it on their own on the cheap. Spent a considerable amount of money on developing music videos.
Sure.
And, some of them are very, very professional, very well done, impressive, considering the amount of money and how hard that is to come by.
Right.
So when you take a look at that, excuse me, when you take a look at that, that's part of the music business that some people are actually sticking their toe in the water. But there's more to it than that. I mean, if you're going to be into the business of music, you can be entrepreneurial with what you actually have. I would much rather take lessons from somebody that's garnered at least 3 or 4 CDs than somebody that just happens to be sitting in a music store somewhere. I would much rather, I would much rather, if I was a local business, I would much rather actually take the music that is created by the people here in their songs and so forth, take a little clip here and a clip there, use that for my website, use that as advertising in radio and TV. In other words, put the sounds that are out there that people are listening to, if they were aware that those sounds were there, through radio and so forth, that basically that could actually form a synergy. In other words, I heard that there, I'm going to go out and listen to that group over there, I'm going to buy that CD that particular song happens to be on. It all has a way of actually enhancing the business aspect of music. A lot of people who are into even doing the studio stuff have no concept, about music licensing.
Yep.
Getting their music synchronized with a movie or a soundtrack or a documentary of some kind, which is pretty good money.
Very good money.
Comes right down to it. The idea of creating, they already done the tracks of their instrumental stuff. Why not create loop collections, which other people can use in their businesses or other musicians can use locally or otherwise to create their own studio recordings? Why not? If you have that ability to teach, why not be entrepreneurial and hang your shingle out there, even if it's for just a few hours a week? That's money that you could actually be bringing in from the skill set that you already have.
And it's no more physical output from you.
That's right. Absolutely right. And you can also make sure that you're legally squared away. I mean, most people I take that back. Some people that I know have tremendous original music and have not copyrighted a single one of the songs.
And trust me, there are people out there that will steal your stuff.
If they hear something good, and there's a lot of good music out there, if they hear something good, they will steal it. I ask any musician out there, have you ever had anything ripped off from the stage or from your car? Has anybody ever stolen anything from you while you were in your music, in the music world? And I would say 90% would say, yeah, I've had something stolen, a microphone, this, that, or the other. So why people don't understand that unless you actually protect yourself, you get in and taking care of the business of music, that not only would you protect yourself with the copyright, but also it opens up, that comfort, or at least that gateway, that next step in the music business that would allow you to, well, I'm going to take this and I'm going to actually do the recording. The copyright's already there. Then you get into, am I hooked up with ASCAP, BMI, or CSAC yet? Well, I need to be if I'm going to be going down this road of recording.
Right.
So, I mean, there are royalties, there's all kinds of different things. And it's just a matter of, you can't really concentrate on all that when you're so distracted by the simple things of me trying to get a gig, or the money, the money becomes very gig oriented and you don't see the possibilities
right.
of options of getting more money from other ways, even though you've already done the work of doing the recordings.
Exactly. Which really brings me to the major point of this podcast. It's not really, I shouldn't say the major point, but I feel like what we're doing is creating a paradigm shift to everything we've just talked about.
I would hope so. I mean, I personally believe that if the Southeast Virginia, as well as the nation and the world, has access to our music 24/7, 365, if you listen to the quality of the songwriting, and you listen to the quality of the performances, and you listen to the quality of the production, you're going to realize that there's something really great going on around here. And I don't care what genre you're in. We represent, Southeast Virginia is represented by a huge swath of genres and different people in them. And I can tell you right now, there's good stuff out there. But the problem is that in order to be able to hear it, you have to go to a particular gig. In other words, how many people would actually go to, 30 different gigs over the course of a month just to be able to get a general idea of what the music of the area happens to be about?
Unless it's your job, none.
That's right.
That's a lot of work and a lot of money. People don't have time for that.
A whole lot of money. Yeah. I mean, even if you just bought one drink or had
exactly,
that's a lot of money over the course of. But if you actually had everybody's music in one spot, you could actually get a real sense of what the quality of what we're doing in this area is all about. The quality of our songwriting, the quality of the performances, and you start to understand that we are more than just ourselves. We are a community, and that basically, if we start looking at ourselves as a community, then the paradigm shift that you're talking about
yes.
can change. We basically can actually start standing up and saying, this is how good we are.
Yeah.
And the rest of the community is now starting to realize how good we are.
Right.
If they hear a band on the radio, then they'll come out and listen to you in the gig. They'll be able to be selective, choose the ones they have, and yet they will be encouraged to go out and actually, participate in the listening as well as the musical community. And because of that, the gigs will hopefully start paying a little bit more. The restaurants will benefit. The sales and streaming, royalties and so forth will be able to start. It will start. I guess you say increasing. The basic thing is, a high tide raises all boats.
Yes.
So basically, if everybody actually starts listening to, if they actually start, supporting, if they actually start respecting, if they actually start, talking about the different kinds and having a conversation about the music. I am waiting to hear how many musicians out there who have actually gone to the studio, spent their blood, sweat, and tears to put out their CDs and so forth. How many of them actually recorded a song by another Southeast Virginia musician?
I don't know. It seems like very little to me.
And, don't tell me Take It Easy didn't do great things for the Eagles and Jackson Browne. I mean, at the end of the day, that's the kind of thing. That's the kind of community. That's the kind of connection. That's the kind of getting each other into each other's studios and actually, taking the bits and pieces of who we are and making it more ever present as far as the way that our sound happens to be. That's the way that the sound gets out there, and with the sound comes the community.
Well, I think that what we're doing, with Radio SEVA can change all of those things just by all of us collectively being in the same place.
That's right.
So you have much more experience than most, certainly much more experience than I do, much more knowledge about the area and the music that it births. But what do you think about that statement? What do you think about what I just said?
Radio SEVA, I think, offers an opportunity for everybody to come to a realization. The realization that it's more, you have your favorite groups that you actually go out and listen to. Let's say that you're an acoustic person.
Right.
And you go out and listen to your favorite acoustic artist or acoustic group.
Sure.
Well, I guarantee you listen to Radio SEVA, you're going to hear about 6 or 8 specific acoustic artists who are very good at what they do.
Right.
And we're trying to get more. I mean, it's really easy to get on the station. You just have to, sign an agreement and get me your stuff. It sounds complicated, but it's not. I mean, we already have 25 artists on the station. We've only been in business a couple of months.
Right.
But these people, in and of themselves, with that acoustic genre, okay, those people make a statement, as far as kind of in a way grasping at something here, trying to put it into words. There's no way in the world that everybody can understand exactly what the sound of a community is unless they have a chance to listen to it in one spot.
Yes.
And we are
constantly.
That's right. All the time. With very, very little, as a matter of fact, we give them 55 minutes an hour, 55 minutes of music an hour. We are not into selling ads or pushing an agenda. We want to push the music. Right. That's the whole thing.
Yeah, most of the hour on our station is content. It's not ads or what have you. It's
content. Right. It is content. And with that comes, I guess you could say, that just with that exposure comes an awareness of, wow, there's a lot more out there than I ever thought. And if you want to go explore it, fine. If you got the time and the money to do it, fine. But if you don't, you can certainly enjoy it, and whether you're listening to it while you're cleaning the house. I personally, especially during football season, I don't need a broadcaster to tell me what I'm looking at on the television. I can see what's going on in the game. I use my Bluetooth headphones, crank up the station, and I'll sit there for 3 hours and listen to Radio SEVA and just get a tremendous amount of enjoyment out of it and still catch the ball game.
Sure.
I mean, so the thing is that you can do it while you're in your car. You can do it while you're mowing the grass. I mean, you can do it. It's an internet radio station. Right. As long as you got a device that can stream it into you, you're good to go.
Sure.
So it's not a matter of actually having the access. It's just a matter of knowing that the access is there and appreciating what you're listening to while you're going through it.
Okay. I mean, that's what we're doing. Radio SEVA has grown. I remember when we had no artists. Oh, we had one. We always had Tom. Well, and Tom is all you need. The guy's got so much of a catalog. However,
thanks for the plug,
but
man.
I mean, hey, man, you're that guy. You're that dude. But I mean, it's just we've gone from 1 to 20, and a wish and a hope to 25 and a real radio station.
That's right.
And I implore you, I mean, I'm still a musician and I still understand what it was like to want to hear my whatever it was I was doing on the radio. That's still kind of a dream thing. I don't care where we go. People love to hear themselves on the radio. It's like, oh yeah, and that's our studio dog, Barry.
Yeah, Barry loves to hear people on the radio too. No, you're absolutely right. I mean, if you're a fan, all you have to do is listen. All you have to do is listen. And if you're an artist, all you have to do is join. It doesn't cost any money. You've already done the work. Just do the simple paperwork and let's get you on the air. And if you're a business, then basically once you actually understand how good things are out there, then basically you'll start using that music, those little hook lines and whatever in your advertisements and so forth, and we become a reality. We become a business, and we become a community that is recognized not only here as having great stuff, but also nationally and eventually worldwide.
That sounds like a plan.
I hope so. I mean, it works for me. That's all I know.
It works for me too. Apparently it did. We started a radio station.
Yeah, we did.
So, well, that's the end of our podcast, people. I appreciate you listening. Next week, or next episode, I should say, we're going to talk about in depth, and Tom has lots of knowledge on this, and I will be learning myself. We will be talking about copyrights and everything that you need to do to have it, protect yourself, and position yourself to get those synchronizations and placements. So, any last words?
No, just thanks for listening and looking forward to the next time around.
Okay, y'all. Appreciate it. Hope you listen next time. Check out Radio SEVA by going to the SEVA Sound homepage and clicking Radio SEVA, or to live365.com and search Radio SEVA. If you have any questions, comments, or topic ideas for SEVACAST or for Tom and Alton, go to sevasound.com and click on the Contact tab.